How much can you change up an inspiration and still be considered inspired by another game? And how much or what should you change from your source when it no longer makes sense? Or can you even change anything at all and not have people with unreasonable expectations just because your game has a different vision even though it's inspired by another game? I may or may not answer these and more questions when we take a good look at Valkie 64, obviously inspired by that Nintendo 64 classic GoldenEye. No, wait. Zelda. Now, without further ado, or an attempt at a good transition, let's cut this review in parts. Yeah. Bah. Charming 3D polygraphics, one of the main selling points of the game. Main character is cute, and for obvious reasons get much better texture than most of the NPCs. Look at these guys. I say most NPCs because these desert hooded guys exist. They perfectly exemplify what you can do with creativity, even with either limited resources or when being gated by your inspiration. Though, I may be biased because I absolutely love this character template. A void with eyes for a head, it's peak design. Now, back to the main character. Fierce eyes, huge sword, armored dress. What more could you want? It's a Valkyrie. Try not to peek under it. Even though the camera will sometimes spin and show you her underside in a way. But it's just the dress and legs. See here, it's just a block. The environment textures are what you would expect from an N64 game. Miscellaneous objects vary, sometimes they are just flat textures that always point to you no matter where you come from. That's most of the small flora, they're sprites. Some bigger objects are modeled like these signposts, but the signposts can't be cut when you swing at them. 0 out of 10 trash game, throw it out. The draw distance for the environment is very good. You can usually see the whole map. It's not a very big map, but you can see all of it, with a very distant fog to hide out of bound areas and to prevent some smaller pop-ins like the flora or some trees, etc. The enemies are also visible from great distances. Usually from where you can see the enemies. I don't remember having encountered pop-ins in general. The terrain inclines sometimes help in this regard, you know. The environmental effects and the lightning are also carefully crafted. Valkie's sword shines as you run. You can see it shining. It goes back and forth. The waterfalls have this great mist effect, almost as if some of the water, when it hits the bottom, comes back up a bit. In the lava world, some rocks glow faintly, and inside the dungeon permeates this red mist for a suffocating effect. In the third dungeon, we have scenes like this one, stunning use of lightning and special effects to create an atmosphere with very limited resources. It doesn't take anything at all. The dev really understood the assignment when crafting this game. Amazing job. The soundtrack is of the melodic type here, as opposed to a more environmental soundtrack that Zelda 64 has. In Zelda, you might have some tracks like The First Temple, Deku Tree, Ganon Castle, or tracks like this that are either small beats or environmental sound effects just to create that ambience. They're not really songs. Obviously, I won't be able to play any of them because Nintendo is very litigious and I fear that the channel will die before even getting a single subscriber. Speaking of which, if you wanna accompany me in this YouTube journey, do subscribe. And after you finish watching it, leave a comment telling me what you liked and disliked about the video. I'm just starting, all feedbacks are appreciated. Back to the music. In this game, each environment has a complete song in it. It won't loop in the middle of it. You hear the entire song, it will end, a second will pass, and then it will start again. They are not context sensitive, only the area you are in is what triggers the music. You do not have a battle theme here, except for when you are nearing a boss room, the normal music fades to nothing. Then, when you start the battle, the boss music follows. This is a great mood settler. I wish we had more context sensitive music. It's great. It's a shame that all the bosses have the same music and that the music is very short. I really don't like that. We could have like 2 or 3 minutes of great music. Let's talk about some highlights of the soundtrack. Kinda difficult because all the tracks are good. I love them all. Sadly, I also don't have the official name for the songs, so I named them based from where they are. Like the title screen song, with its deep reverbs and delayed notes, is fantastic. The Goddess Island track has sound effects of running water and birds chirping, with its chorus of voices in the distance. They complement the peace you feel when bathed by your goddess's light. You could just, hear this music all day long. There's Kizen Town with its xylophone triangle and the same sound effect as the Goddess Island, but it gives a completely different vibe of a small town with kids running around and you just, watching people passing by. Very nice. The first temple, also the ice temple or dungeon, they have exquisite piano pieces. They are also far too short for a place we stay longer than the town. The town music is longer. The reverb adds that sensation of long forgotten corridors that echoes the melancholy of the melody playing. Very nice, very nice. The Magmo Village is almost a bossa nova waiting for a vocal soundtrack. I love it. One of my favorites. You have the Magma Dungeon with its heavily sustained guitar strings that fill the ambient with tense anticipation of enemies nearby. As I said before, it all comes together for that oppressive atmosphere. The Icelands, they seem to want to be a cheerful Christmas song, but the instrumentation doesn't let it. It is infected by the chaos forces. You have to get rid of them. Boss music, as I said, right amount of threatening, but way too short. I like music when it's, you let it flow. Also, the end music for the last places you visit, I'll talk more about that when I take a good look at the ending. The sound effects are great. Interactions and conversations have this bubbly sound. The sword sound effect, one of the effects you hear more than anything else, is not annoying at all. It comes accompanied with a grunt from Valkie. She changes her grunts from slash to slash, but it didn't get on my nerves. You sometimes have that in some games where there's a voice. The other sound effects are mostly on point. The sound mixing is fortunately good because you can't change it. More on the options menu. One of the very few bad parts of the game. Here it is in all its glory, the options menu. No sound options in the menu whatsoever. Instead, you have this bizarre music button. It's the select one. It circles between 100%, 50% and 0% volume. But it's not the master volume. Why would it be? Only the music volume. There's actually no way to adjust the volume of the sound effects whatsoever. Why? Why would you do that? If you wanna adjust the sound effects, you have to adjust it from outside the game. Also, no graphic options, basically, aside from VSync. It's very good that it's there. I'll sometimes struggle with VSync for some games. This PC of mine is quite old, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, camera invert controls, very good. Rumble, meh. And autosave, if you're into that. That's it. No way to change button configuration from inside the game. Thankfully, we have Steam for that. And it's universal button remapping. Very good. But since we have buttons showing on the screen at all times, it might be confusing for some people. The performance of the game itself is fine. It's not a very intensive game to strain your PC. Even mine didn't have too much of a trouble with it. The CPU temperature sure rose a lot. Sometimes you have to choose when to play. I played mine when it was cold outside. Also, hilariously,
I got stuck once, which led me to reset the game. You don't lose much, you can save and quit. I was just experimenting and got stuck behind this aquarium. The camera was lost here. It didn't agree with me at all. I tried going out, no way, I had to reset.
The armies of chaos are back. They're doing bad stuff. It's your job as Valkyrie to stop them. Go there, beat them up, help the citizens of these 4 separate worlds. Most of your time though will be spent with enemies in the fields. You sometimes encounter an NPC to talk. Their dialogues are pretty basic levels. They have 1 or 2 max lines they can say to you.
Also, since you don't come back very much to the locations you go in, especially the towns, I've been calling them the wrong name and will probably continue to do so for the rest of the video.
The game is aiming for a simplified Ocarina of Time experience with focus on exploration and combat. You start at the hub. You have 4 separate worlds to explore at your complete discretion, both in order of visit and completion. You can go back and forth through all of them, your pick. There's a grass world, lava world, snow and desert. There's a couple of other areas, I'll talk about them later. The 4 locations follow a pattern. A main field with a path that diverges to the town, the dungeon, and 1 extra area that houses an objective for one of the few side quests that the game has. Usually it includes rescue a citizen or get an item for someone in town.
Inside the dungeon, you will not find several items that will help your exploration. No nets, no hammers, no shovel, and no puzzle attached to them. You are not an elf adventurer. You are Goddess's Warrior, a champion. Your sword is everything you need. Here in the dungeon, you beat up Kremlins, Reptids, and other foes. You get the rupees, Seyfils. Your money, that's a rectangle. You buy things in town later, avoid traps, get keys to access other rooms and the boss room. After defeating the boss, you get a gem. Doesn't do anything, it's more like a key. And you move on to the next world.
Speaking of the towns, they're simple, very charming, with only a few residents that, as I said before, give 1 or 2 lines of dialogue when spoken to. The ones that gives out quests. After you complete the quest, they will always say, "Oh, here's your reward. Oh, here's your reward. Enjoy it." Sometimes these quests, they can be very nice. They may take you to multiple worlds. You may get 1 item from 1 place that you give to a character in another place, you know. Most of the quests rewards you with heart pieces, one of the very few upgrades to your character. Here in this game, the heart pieces are half only. You don't have to get 3, 4, 5 per heart. It's 2. You get 1, you get another 1, full heart. That's it. Very good, very condensed, as this game is. Each town has a shop with 1 heart piece you can buy, with potions depending on which shop you are, and hearts. You can buy these hearts to restore your health instantly, but don't waste your money on them. You can restore your health for free at the goddess statue in this suspicious green smoke in front of this statue. What is this goddess doing? Don't do drugs, kids. Oh, you can also recover your health at this very peaceful Snow Cottage's hot spring. Also, if you have 3 or less hearts, each time you open the game, you start at full health. As for the potions, you have the red, the green, and the purple ones. The red is the life potion. It recovers 3 hearts as soon as you hit 0. The green one is the speed potion. It raises your movement speed for all your actions until you take damage, then the potion disappears. The purple potion is the berserk potion. It raises your attack damage but makes the rate of which hearts drop decrease significantly. For this effect to end, go for a swim. Just standing in the water won't end the effect, you have to swim. So it's safe to use, for example, the hot springs at the Snow Cottage. You can also quickly check if you are with the effect of the Berserk potion active, because your eye is on fire. You can find the red potion in all the shops, the green potion both in the lava and ice worlds, and the purple potion is only available at the desert town. Here in the overworld it might be more of a blue color, but in the menu you can see it's purple actually. Each town also have the chief that rewards you for beating the boss of that world. Each of these items you get is an upgrade to your character. The Grass World Chief gives you access to buy 4 upgrade scrolls. There at the start of the Grass World, it's the first house you come across. It's this one, it has some tutorial books if you wish to read them. The upgrades found here though are pretty useful. They are the following: an extra attack for your sword combos and more damage for both your parry and air attacks. The second one gives you faster dodging. The third one, it's a boost to the red potion. It will now recover 6 hearts instead of 3. The final one, the fourth, is a boost to the green potion. One of the first ones you should buy in my opinion. It allows you to keep the potion until you die. Also, pro tip here, the effect of the potion in this case will only go away after you die if you hit continue. If you choose the option back to the main menu and reload your game, you won't lose it, but of course you lose any other unsaved progress, so like keys and money, so do save often. The Lava World Chief, some sort of stone creature, a species completely unheard of. I never seen anything like this in any game. Gives you an upgraded armor. The Snow Cottage Foxes give you an upgrade to your wallet, which at the start of the game lets you hold only 500 cephals, but with this upgrade it gives you 999 cephals, which lets you buy 2 of the 4 scrolls. The Desert Oasis Chief gives you a teleport item. With it, you can, at any time, press a button and go to any of the worlds, near the dungeons, the towns, etc. Honestly, not a very good item. If you make the desert your last world, you beat the boss, as it is recommended by the goddess, because each time you talk to the goddess, she says, "Oh, go to this world next. This is the adequate difficulty for you." But seeing as each section is like a minute walk away, you can go from the field to the town or to the dungeon entrance very quickly. This last reward is more for those who wish to finish all the side quests at once or something. If you wanna, round up everything before the final battle, you can maybe use this item. You quickly enter a routine in this game, as stated before. You pass the first area of the world, go to the town, talk to the kinda cute shapes that pass as NPCs, go to the extra area for a side quest, get a heart, and go to the dungeon. You have to go through the dungeon to get a map and 3 keys: bronze, silver, and gold. In a twist of fate, they do not break when you use them. And from then on, they open all the corresponding doors. Silver locked doors, bronze locked doors, gold locked door. This one is the boss one. This means that if you die or close the game, you can quickly come back to where you left off. Because the dungeons are crafted in a way that each key you get kind of a checkpoint, because the dungeon resets if every time you die or restart the game. Back to the upgrades, you have one sword upgrade found in the desert. After completing a side quest that includes a fight with your doppelganger, a shadow one, as expected of an Ocarina of Time inspired game. Another armor upgrade awaits you in a secret area, together with one other upgrade that should, in theory, drastically change your moveset: a glide. This area, a jungle, is accessible via the grass world, that big door right to the left, just as you enter. You gotta have either 2 gems or 10 hearts. Then you go through this area and you get this wheel on your back. It gives you wings. By pressing the jump button while you're in midair, you will glide. You will lose your vertical momentum kinda quickly unless you press the jump button again as soon as you are able to, rhythmically, every few seconds. Your horizontal control needs a bit of getting used to. Every time you can press the button again, you can turn basically to any direction you want. That's pretty much it. It's fairly simple. Just, as I said, a bit of getting used to. Anyway, after getting the wings, you get access to the second jungle area. This is it. Wait a minute. Isn't this literally just Super Kiwi 64's second jungle stage? Would you look at that? It's literally the same stage. Remove the airship, add in some enemies. Maybe it's a time after the events of Super Kiwi 64. Anyway, you can find a cameo of a certain fruit-named bird here. But in this jungle area, you have this bouncy mushrooms to play around with together with the glide. It's a fun place to explore. It is, though, a shame that basically this is the only area that utilizes the glide mechanic in a satisfactory manner. The other area that you can explore is one where glide gives you a lift, so you can just fly away, you know? You can circle all around the map, and you got an upgrade for the wings themselves. The point is, this was all added after the rest of the game was finished in an update. The jungle, this temple, the glide itself, all of it. So it's pretty understandable that the glide is underutilized in other areas. Maybe when they make a sequel, Valkie 64 2, which I strongly hope they do. Maybe then, with gliding in mind from the beginning, we could have some really fun platforming places. Back from this tangent once again, in this jungle area, you can find another upgrade, which is your second armor upgrade. You go from blue armor to red armor to gold armor. Each of them reduces damage taken. Also, the golden armor gives you a lens that makes you able to see enemy health. That's very good for bosses. After getting your white wings, you have access to this small island here floating. You enter this area in which you have to kill all the plants to access this temple, but the chest inside can only be opened after you get the 4 gems. It gives you an upgrade to your wings. They become red. Now, as for their effect, I have no idea. The game doesn't explain it. I can't seem to find the difference between the 2 wings. If you found the difference, point it out in the comments. Starting to talk about the locations, we will probably follow the path most likely taken. You start at this floating island with the goddess that gives access to all the 4 worlds. Blue skies, perfect, nothing in your way. When you enter the forest area, same thing, blue sky, but with this beautiful green nature around you, lots of water. You can see the house to the Master of the Scrolls to the left, and in this main field you have access at the same time to the left to Kizen Town. The middle path takes you to a mountain, and the right path takes you to the first dungeon. Out of all the towns in the game, Kizen Town is the biggest one with the most residents. It's made of 3 layers. The lower layer, you have a couple houses, the shop, and lake, where if you complete the side quests, you can put a dock. You have a couple of normal trees, this giant tree, no mouth in there to enter. I searched, you can see. The town itself, very cozy. It's what's inside, kind of like a canyon. Love this design. Second layer, couple houses. Top layer, elder house. No notes here. The extra area of the forest world is the mountain. It's a small mountain, you can circle it around. There's a There's a lake too. There's a small section that you can access when you go halfway through the mountain. If you look from up there, you can see it. It has a tree branch. Might have some secrets. Who knows? You can go up top the mountain. Something might have been here. Also, cute, cozy place. Next place. Now, as for the dungeon area, the pre-dungeon area is gorgeous. You can see this castle with this river crossing it. As you can see, it connects with the rest of the map. If you go outside and look, it's a little darker. The sun's not hitting it directly. There are paths with a ladder to the right, something might be there. Search around there before you enter. Now for the dungeon itself, you have the indoor and outdoor areas. The indoor areas are the inside of a castle with some traps. These are spinning blades. They rotate and go and zip around the floor, usually in a 1-2 pattern or in a circular motion all around the map. Take care, some rooms are like that. But the main attraction of the dungeon are this outside area. It's this stunning indoor garden. There are a couple of this in the dungeon. Just look at it. The lighting hitting certain parts of the map and others just seeing a slightly shadowier texture. Good stuff. The second world, the lava world, you enter by the top. You have this rocky path that you take to the bottom. You can see a lot of different areas. You can already see some magma boiling around. Watch out not to fall. In the distance you can see kind of a cave that gives way to both the town to the right and the dungeon to the left. Now this magma town is just the coziest too. The dev knows how to make cozy towns. It's divided in 4 sessions with a river of magma here and some bridges. And they don't have houses, but they stay around. The stone guys. The elder is up there in the furnace. And from the town you can access the extra area of this world. This extra area is half composed of a magma lake. I believe it's lava because it's outdoors and there's nothing, there's no ceiling upward, so but I'm gonna interchangeably call it magma, lava, whatever. Unfortunately, you can't fly through the falling magma waterfall. It's just a block.
or a wall. But you can zip around. Very fun place with this crystal cave. If you need some crystals for something, you can find it here. Now, for the path leading up to the dungeon, the first part is the cave that also gives path to the city. It's the entrance of the cave, basically, with this small hole in the ceiling. But when you enter the pre-dungeon stage or area, you'll find the atmosphere changes a lot. It gets much horror. As I said in the graphics part, this red mist complements the music. It's a really suffocating experience being here. All the magma around, and the dungeon entrance itself looks like a giant worm waiting to eat you up. Now, for the dungeon itself, you have this huge open space. As you can see, there are two sky crossings. You go through each one. It's a winding path. In the bottom floor, your path will be crossed by some fireballs jumping around as if you were in a Mario Castle. Also, there are these holes that intermittently shoot out fire to you. You have exploding spiders, trap rooms with loads of enemies, loads of fun. Third word is no one. You start at the beginning of the foot of the mountain. It's mostly a travel upwards. In this lake to the right, you have some spinning ice blocks. They are sleepy and they spin. Your camera will spin with you. You gotta be on your foot here. You can spin to counteract some of the camera movements. That's what I did. Anyway, it's mostly a single path that you can take that forks to the cottage to the left. In between this small mount here, and to the right the pre-dungeon. The cottage is a simple area, just a family. It houses the hot spring here, one of the most important locations in the game. You can come and replenish your life anytime. There is that green mist of the goddess, but I'll talk about it a little bit later. Here, the cottage is also the shop, since it's the only house in this quote-unquote town. There are 3 stumps here. Maybe you can climb up there. You might find something. Now, back to the way to the dungeon. This is at the same time the pre-dungeon area and the extra area, because all the other objectives are here. It's a very big area. You have a big lake to the right with these small islands, bridges between them. You have more of the ice blocks that spin. See if you can find anything here. Aside from that, you go through the path, cross a bridge, and go to the dungeon. The dungeon itself, beautiful. Mostly rooms with, it seems like, a little bit of mist from the ice coming up. Lots of icicles, giant icicles, ice paths. It's really a nice dungeon. We cannot call it anything else. It's gorgeous. I love it. I'm sure you love too. Just watch out for the falling ice spikes. There are spots on the floor that marks where they fall. And if you are sleeping too much, draw your sword and walk slowly. You might want to let go of the green potion here, because the slower you move here through the ice, the easier it is to maintain your balance. As soon as you enter the fourth world, the desert one, you can see there's a little alcove here behind your back. You might need some kind of key. Maybe you can get in some way an ancient key to come and visit this place. Lots of traps here, whatever could it be? Anyway, coming back outside, the desert is vast. You can see you have no map by design in the fields, but if you hug the right wall, you eventually get to the oasis. Just don't go past the border because you'll fall on the quicksand. In the desert oasis, you can see the main lake surrounded by palm trees. You have basically what is a caravan in their tents with the, as said before, desert hooded people. It's a simple place, very beautiful. Since thematically speaking it makes sense that the quests to gather items involve going to different worlds, you don't have an extra area. Instead you have just the pre-area dungeon, which is this small space with that big bone structure, very nice. Look out for secrets around here. And you have the entrance to the dungeon. This last of the 4 dungeons is a bit more complicated to navigate around. You have this circle, the outer ring that you go through. You can make it all the way, but the inner circle have some blocked paths that when you press the button, you have this rotating wall that give access to a room and take away access for a limited time, and you have to navigate it. This is also the dungeon in which you have to do more than just find the 3 keys. You also have 3 mini bosses to fight, and when you defeat the 3 of them, you can grab the golden key. A very cool concept. Among the traps you'll find quicksand pits, spikes that come out of the floor, and some surprises regarding the 3 mini bosses. In this dungeon I feel that the map is the most required, since most of the rooms, except for the special ones, they are mostly similar. This is probably by design. It's a dungeon that is made to confuse you. Love the concept. Now, for the couple areas that were added in an update, they have to do with the wings. It's the jungle area and the Sky Temple area. The jungle area, it's a beautiful place. It's a bridge between the first area that you come from and the area that's, as said before, it's literally QE64's jungle stage. You have this little lake, you have a cave where you can enter, defeat some enemies and gain access to the wings. Now, for the QE64 area in itself, it's a beautiful design divided in 4 segments with big trees and platforms that connect 3 of the 4 parts, bouncing mushrooms everywhere. You can bounce and glide from them. You have these monkey statues. You have an outside ring area that you can go on. You might even need to go there. Your objective is in the 4th quadrant. It's this area that has a lake and this tree that has a path for you to go in after you do something. Now, the last area that's not the final stretch of the game is this Sky Temple that you can access directly from your goddess temple. It's the same design, loads of floating islands, lots of plant lives that you have to cut, and a temple there in the distance that might have something in it. You can only access this place after you get wings. It's a small space. When you are here, every time you use your glide, you gain a little upward momentum, so you can basically fly here. Graphic design is my passion. But I feel this part of the game got the least attention aside from the options menu. It shows the in-game main menu to the left with option to resume the game, save and quit, entering the options and just back to the title without saving. This may be important because sometimes you don't want to save, for example, in case you just lost your green potion or your red one, you're taking too much damage, and you just want to redo the part again. Just quit and come back, it's sometimes quicker. As for the right part of the menu, it's kinda well divided, a little bit of a mess. Top left, on the right side, you got your heart, to see if you got any half heart, sword and armor. Also, for some reason, when you get a specific item, it will appear above one of them. They are related, but it's outside of any of the boxes. It doesn't make much sense. You have the upgrades you get from the elders. A little below the heart, you have the potions. Below that, it looks like 16 spaces for side quests. No, there are 12 side quests, and 4 of the last spaces are used for the scrolls if you have them. Could be separate thing, they're more of an upgrade. I feel they could have gone up, but whatever. One good thing about this side quest system is that it shows you the order, basically. The forest area have the first side quests, then the magma, then ice, then desert. It's pretty easy to see what you are missing. Also, if you have something here and it's not ticked, you didn't finish that side quest. You might have to take one of the items and give to an NPC for the quest to be ticked. It's usually when you get the reward that the item in itself is ticked. It's funny to me that you have NPCs together with fish, together with the axe, together with a house. Below it all, you have the 4 gems. That's it. Static background for that. Protruding outside for the left part is really kind of a mess. It's functional. At least you can read it. Good enough. The main screen UI is as you would expect. Hearts to the top left, controls top right, always visible, showing the context sensitive information. Save fields bottom left, it also shows there if you have any keys. And to the bottom right, your map when you have one. A little addendum, in the overworld you almost always have a map, except on the desert level. As for the camera, basic camera, move it with your right stick. You can lock it to your back by pressing one of the focus buttons and releasing it rapidly. Honestly, I wish more devs took lessons from camera, a little bit more from Mario 64 instead of Zelda. Because here's a little rant. In Mario, you have kind of a fixed camera sometimes, and if you are in 3D, sometimes this is very necessary. Sometimes you don't want to have to adjust the camera yourself. it could have a dynamically adjusted for when you enter fights, for example. You pan out a little bit, give Valky some space, for example, pull her to the right or left instead of her being always in the center. You know, things like that. Maybe sometimes a side view when in a boss. Experiment with your camera, people. Cinematography. Video game is the culmination of all art forms. Use them all. This is a video that's coming.
Now for the meat and potatoes of the game, the combat. It is at the same time forgiving and punishing, but not that hard when you think about it. You battle with a sword. The hitbox of the sword is bigger than the model itself, which is already a Buster Sword sized sword. Very forgiving in this aspect. Two of the buttons control your sword. One allows for a slower, slightly more powerful horizontal slash with a 2-hit combo. When upgraded with that scroll, talked about earlier, it adds a third hit with a 360 sweep. The other sword button commands a vertical, faster 3-hit combo with a fourth one in the upgrade. You also have access to a jump button. What a difference being able to jump at your command makes. Aside from being able to accommodate some platforming in the game, the jump also allows you to make an aerial attack if your sword is shift. The jump button is one of the two context sensitive buttons. It's the same for opening a door, talking to NPCs, etc. It will show up, it's the blue one. You deal extra damage, and since the draw and attack are in the same motion, it's faster than first drawing the weapon and then going for an attack. It's also great for cutting grass when traversing the field. Jump, cut, shift, continue on your way. The other context sensitive button is the one that shifts your sword when drawn, obviously. If the sword is already shifted, the button turns into a toggle between jog and sprint. You can't sprint, obviously, when the sword is drawn, and you walk slower with your sword drawn. The only counter to that, it's that green potion. One of the shoulder buttons activates the focus. It's basically the same as Z targeting in Ocarina of Time. For those who don't know, it's one of the features that define the combat in future Zelda games and became a staple in 3D games with melee combat. When you have your focus button held, you focus your attention on a specific enemy. Your movement changes from freeform, where you move in the direction of your stick presses, to strafe, with the target as a sort of anchor point. To signify that the enemy is being focused, you have a big red and yellow arrow pointing to it. None of that diegetic stuff here. While focused, your jump button becomes a dodge button. It's a jump dodge without any invincibility frame, so stay sharp. You can dodge back without holding any direction, or to the sides when holding left and right, respectively, of course. Sadly, there's no option to toggle the focus, only you have to hold the button. The other shoulder button is dedicated for the parry. Parry was added in an update, it was not part of the base game. I only played the game with parry, and frankly, I really don't know how it could have fared without it. It seems like it was an integral part of the game to begin with. When you parry, you change your sword stance, holding it in front of you for a counter. You just press the button once, and the stance is held automatically for a set amount of time. If any enemy hits you while in this instance, even from behind, you don't take any damage and make a spinning attack that hits every enemy around you. The window for the parry is very generous and it actually extends a bit further than the animation itself. But since the attack of the enemies are usually quick, you have to time it very well. Their attack intervals are also bigger than I thought than they should have, and that threw me off a lot of times. You really gotta parry those attacks just right to not take this much damage. Though the attacks are very well telegraphed most of the time, especially the Raptids. Enemy variety is not the focus of the game, but for the size of it, it's pretty good, I'd say. You have the basic slimes and Raptids with environmental variations of color and detail, and in the Raptids case, they have different attacks depending on the weapon they carry. You have the Cloud one that just make a sweeping horizontal attack. If they carry a sword, this horizontal attack is faster. You also have a Fortress if they carry a spear. You also have some area specific monsters like these exploding spiders in the magma dungeon, the mage ghosts in the ice dungeon, plants in the jungle, and these immortal undead guys in the desert dungeon. No, they do not scream at you, you are not paralyzed with fear, they just come and swing their sword, they're not much. Speaking of the enemies, you don't need to fight every one of them, you can just run past a good chunk of them. You only need to fight when you are in a room that requires you to kill all of the enemies to progress or to make a chest appear. Each enemy basically have an area of action. If you get close enough, they will come to you. If you get far enough, they won't follow you anymore and go back to their spot. But you can kite them away, you can be close enough so that they can chase you. You can pull a good amount of enemies at the same time, so you can parry all of them at the same time and or die really quickly.
As expected, you start with 3 hearts and can get more by finding the half heart pieces. You find them in chests in the overworld, buying from the shops, one in each town, in the dungeons, and one whole heart from each boss. Also in the side quests. The damage you take from enemies vary on the enemies, which armor you have, if you are playing on normal or hard mode, more on that later. But you usually won't have to worry very much about your health and can just hack away at smaller enemies. If you are lucky and full health enough, you can just tank some bosses too. Speaking of the bosses, there's one for each dungeon, plus a couple special bosses and final boss. I'll be talking about final boss in the ending session, which is a pre-warning for spoilers when you get to that session. The attack pattern for the bosses are simple. You can easily dodge them or even parry. You can parry the bosses, it's very good. The first area's boss is the golem. Very simple attack pattern, try to stomp you, follow you around. There are traps that zip around the arena to make things more exciting. Here you can see me dramatizing this fight much more than it would need to be. The magma dungeon boss is this giant spider. It has two attack patterns. One, more telegraphed and slower, is the front claws one. The one with the tail is much quicker, pay attention. Also, you have these little spider eggs around the arena. In this fight, as you can see, I avoided hitting them or even getting close because I just fought the spider. I just entered the arena and started fighting the boss. The other spiders are too far away for me to enter their area of action. But anyway, fire traps around the arena. There's also the fire pit to the sides. A very dangerous place. The ice dungeon boss is this Dementor looking guy, the ice mage. He shoots fast projectiles, watch out. You can parry them though, so no problem there if your parry is good. One of his shots circulates the arena. He teleports back if you start hitting him too much. And you gotta watch out for the icicles that fall. You've been finding us icicles all throughout the dungeon, but here it really makes a difference in the fight, especially with this sliding ice. Very fun fights, I love this one. The desert dungeon boss is kind of a mess, honestly. He's a Nautilus squid type of thing. The arena in paper, very good. The borders all have sand in them. You have two traps. You have these two undead guys waiting for you to come close. You have some spider eggs lying around. Would be a very nice fight. But as you can see here, I had problems with the camera. The camera jerked me around. I turned, I spinned, I was flung away. So I just hacked away at it. It seems like it has only two types of attack patterns. One vertical, slower. One horizontal, faster. But I couldn't actually be sure because you could see at the footage, it's a mess. A path opens up to you to go to the final dungeon. It's a tower in the sky. Love the concept. Islands, castles, houses, towers in the sky. Adore it. You go through 3 floors. The 2 first floors are enemy gauntlets. You obviously have to defeat them all to pass to the next one. 3rd floor, you fight the final boss. Standard boss for the game, basically. Has a couple of attack patterns. One a little more telegraphed, but with a bigger area of effect. One smaller one that goes in 4 directions near the boss. Easy win, honestly. You beat the boss, get the final cutscene, and that's
the game done. For a first playthrough, of course. As one would imagine from the scope of the game, it's not a very long one. You can beat it in 4 to 8 hours depending on what you want to collect, how good you are at parrying or dodging, and how thorough you wanna be for a first playthrough. Now, when you beat the game, you unlock hard mode. What does hard mode do? Increases enemy damage. As far as I know, that's it. I did not actually finish the game in hard mode because of the achievements. Let me talk about the achievements first. You have what I like to call gateway achievements. You pass through this gate, get the achievement. Blue gem, red gem, green gem, yellow gem. Defeat the final boss. 5 achievements right there, boom. This game has a total of 10 achievements. There is one for defeating 500 enemies. Very easy, you eventually do it. There's one for the sword upgrade. These are all achievements you can receive on your first playthrough. From start to credits, you can get 7 of them. Now, if you play normally, that's it. Now, there are 3 other achievements. Let's talk about them. So, the last 3 achievements are: defeat the final boss without sword or armor upgrades. The other achievement: defeat the final boss without getting any heart upgrades. The third one: receive the Goddess Crown, which you receive by beating an extra boss after the final boss on hard mode. Now, would you say try them all at the same time? No. Nobody in the right mind would do that. Why would they? Of course, I am trying to do it. It's exactly that. I'm trying to no hit complete the game, basically. Because when you get to the first dungeon, I think, no, you pass the first dungeon, the magma area onwards, basically all attacks one hit kill you. You have no armor, no nothing. You can get scrolls. It won't affect the achievements, obviously. I really wouldn't recommend you do all the achievements at the same time. Save it for when you replay it some other time. Once you do just hard mode, another one, maybe even normal mode with 3 hearts, another time normal mode or even hard mode without upgrades, or mix and match. But don't do it like I'm doing. For some outside of the game stuff, very hard to find anything about Maltglade. They're from Germany. That's it. That's what I could find. From one tip here, another there, maybe it's a single person, maybe it's a solo dev. I don't know. Hard to parse. The game is very cheap.
It's less than $6 full price. So go get it. Also, you guys might have noticed I'm wearing 2 different shirts throughout these recordings. I've been sick, but still pushing forward because I want to finish this video up. It's more than 70 minutes of recording of a full video. Actually, it's much more than that in recording time. Playing, it's been a blast. This is the first video that I'm doing. I don't know if it will be the first video to be uploaded. I hope you guys like it. This very good look at Valkie 64. My name is Felipe Pereira Simeone, FPS. This is the FPS Factor. Thank you so very much. Sakura give thanks to. Thank you. And see you next time.